up, everybody? Welcome to the Mibo Show. I am your girl, Shanti Das. I'm so excited. This season, we are dedicating it to hip-hop turning 50. We have some incredible guests on here today that are doing so much great work around hip-hop and health. And again, we want to celebrate iconic hip-hop artists, about the intersection of health and hip-hop, how music, culture, and hip-hop artists can have a positive impact on health and wellness in our community. And just how we can ensure that hip-hop is around for another 50 years, baby, because we got work to do. We got so much work to do in the community. So again, welcome to the Mibo Show.
That's right.
This episode features one of my heroes, and I feel confident that I can say friends in the business, someone that has been dubbed the world's greatest entertainer and the original human beatbox, the legend, the myth, the icon, Dougie Fresh.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Shanti's in the house.
All right. Also joining us is Doug's partner, the co-founder of the nonprofit Hip Hop Public Health, Dr. Olajide Williams. He is a neurologist and health behavior expert at Columbia University. Welcome to the show, Dr. Williams.
Thank you for having me.
But he's also known as the hip hop doc.
I love that. And so it's fun fact. I wrote a book about my career, doc, in the music business, and I am also known as a hip hop professional. So there you go.
That's right.
I love it. Well, welcome to the show. It really is. It really is. And just thank you for all the work that you're doing for our culture. We truly appreciate you. And last but not least, we have our health expert, and now she's really a friend to the show, to the Mibo Show. We have the amazing Vanessa Broadhurst. She's the EVP of Global Affairs at Johnson & Johnson. So let's give a warm welcome to Vanessa.
Hey, everyone. So happy to be here, Shanti.
Thank you guys so much. So I want to jump right into this. Let's talk about it, this mind and body wellness thing. And so first off, Doug, I want to ask you, what was the catalyst for you to become a health advocate in hip-hop many years ago, quite honestly? And how did you and Dr. Williams connect?
Well, that's a really good question to open up with. But, I've always been one of those guys who felt that health is your wealth and you get wealth from your health. So back in the days when we were doing concerts, I was always the guy running around eating vegan sandwiches, exercising in the room. I would have D-Nice and a bunch of other artists in my hotel room. I would make up games challenging them with push-ups. Who could do the most push-ups, or we'll take it and we'll do what's called 25 to 1, and you'll do 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, 24, 23, all the way to 1. And I was always motivated in that area because that's how I grew up. And I always said that water is the recipe to life. So instead of drinking beer and stuff like that, I would drink water, and I was into that. So Dr. Williams was introduced to me through a friend of mine who I showed some techniques to on the beatbox side, named Rich. And he went to go see him in the hospital to get a checkup. And then I got the word that he met this doctor who wanted to meet me. And I was like, okay, let's meet. And, we went through a little bit of time to meet. But when we got together, I knew he was a different guy because he pulled up playing, Mobb Deep Shook Ones in his car. And the bass was crazy.
Stop it.
Shanti, and I keep, and you're from the music industry, so you know what I'm talking about. The bass, it was like a block away. His bass was so crazy. I was like, yo, who's coming up that block?
Wait, and hold up. Anybody that listens to Shook Ones is a real hip-hop head. You gotta love hip-hop to listen to Shook Ones.
I heard it go, son is shook. Ain't no way. When I seen him get out saying the words, I said, oh my God. And then after
ain't no such thing as halfway crooks.
Come on, Doc. Hold on. Where we at?
Such thing as halfway crooks.
Hey.
Yo, and I'm telling you, when I seen that, I knew that there was something special about him. And I knew that the Creator put us on a special mission to do the work. And the work is to spread health and wellness throughout this world, and to start with the smallest group, meaning the kids. Instead of going straight to the adults, we went right to the kids. And once we got them motivated and they got energized, and, we started to do, and we did it. Hey, Doc, and this is Shanti's going to ask the question, but she asked me, She said, how long have we been doing this? Because we was talking a little bit. I told her it's been like, what, maybe 16 to 18 years now, right?
2005, Dougie,
You
2005.
kidding me? I mean, listen, y'all, that's a long time in this business. Cause come on, Doug, you gotta know, and Vanessa, you've been around. You're a music fan. Health and wellness was just not talked about and celebrated like that, right? You just didn't have, and not to say people were just out wilding, but you know, at a certain time, we were out wilding in the industry, right, and in the culture, and people weren't necessarily drinking water all the time. You was picking up a cocktail or you were picking up a blunt. And I'm not the social police. I believe in people having their fun.
Right.
But it just wasn't that narrative, right, that you saw kind of permeating throughout hip-hop culture. And so that's why I'm just so proud of you, Doug and Dr. Williams. Like, you guys are trailblazers in this space.
I was doing a lot of things on a natural level, but when I was able to put the science behind it, it turned into a whole nother thing. So, you know, and then because he was so familiar and so natural with hip hop, I didn't have to convince him. I didn't have to explain things to him. I mean, once I heard that bass in that car, I knew there was no explanations I had to make.
I love it. I love it. And Doug, I'm going to go to Dr. Williams next, but you around here, brother, looking like Benjamin Button. I need to see sauce.
Look, I see what you're doing, though. I got to keep it real. I see what you're doing on that gram, baby. I see you walking and I see you talking and you're going hard. You're going so hard and I'm loving it. Yo, I was looking at you. I was like, yo, she's going so hard right now. This is real serious.
You inspire me. Come on. Even during the pandemic, we talk like, come on.
I remember.
Inspire me.
I remember. And congratulations on your show, because I remember in the pandemic you was talking about all of this. And you talked this all into existence. So congratulations, sister. For real, you know.
Thank you guys, good. I'm so grateful, Doug. I'm so grateful.
All the time.
Thank you, brother. All right, Brother Williams, the hip hop doc. Tell me more about hip hop public health and why an organization like that is so important to our community.
Well, thanks, Shanti. You know, the reason why this is so important is that, you know, when I started this journey, I was working at Harlem Hospital and working on the front lines at Harlem Hospital. I started working at Harlem Hospital back in 96, 97.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this was a tough time in Harlem. If you remember the crack epidemic,
Yes.
and just the scourge of illness and death and gun violence that was in Harlem in the late 90s. And so that's where I was working. And it was also a time when the obesity epidemic started rising. It was a time when we were seeing, you know, just so many preventable disease in our emergency rooms. And I said, as a doctor, it's one thing to treat patients when they're in the hospital, but what we really should be doing is preventing people from coming to the hospital.
That's right.
It's not about sick care. It's about wellness. It's about health care, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
And so, you know, the question is, what could I do, you know, and what could I do was directly linked to what I was seeing, because what I was seeing is that with just a little bit more information, with just a little bit more knowledge about what to do, with just a little bit more knowledge about how to control this or how to prevent this or how to make this better, with a little bit more information, we could have been saving lives. You know, low health information, you know, it's referred to as low health literacy, increases your risk of death by 54%, Shanti, right? That's just low health information. And so we realized, and I quickly realized, that we needed to start to plug the information gap in Harlem. And we needed to figure out a way to communicate in a lot more effectively than the public health community was doing, because the public health community wasn't reaching the streets. The public health community wasn't speaking the language, didn't represent the lived experience of the people on the streets. And hip hop did. All you had to do is walk from 135th Street to 125th Street, you know, and you'll see the power of hip hop, you know, as people are walking up and down, rapping to themselves, listening to music, dancing, and you would watch it. I would watch it, and I would say, boy, if we could take information and put it in a song, boy, would people learn it. It was that simple. And I had Dougie to help me make it reality.
Well,
And then with Dougie, came the foundation of the organization. With Dougie came our realization that what we were doing on the small level had potential on to impact a much larger platform. And we needed an organization with the infrastructure to do that. But more than that, we also needed to demonstrate to the world through research, through science, that this truly works. Because I'm also a professor of neurology at Columbia University. I'm also one of the deans at Columbia University. And I have a reputation and credibility. And at that time, I had aspirations to make tenure. And you have to do science. You have to show scientific impact, and societal impact in your work. And that means making sure that whatever it is that we were doing with hip hop, we needed to show through science that it was effective, that it was working. And so I took what Doug and I were doing and what we were building, and we brought research design into it. We ran pilot studies. We ran very large, we call them randomized controlled trials, and we demonstrated without a shadow of doubt that what we were doing worked. And that was the credibility upon which the organization was built.
Well, kudos to you both. Obviously, you set it up the right way so you can have real outcomes, right, and ways to measure what you're doing. So, again, I'm so grateful for Hip Hop Public Health, for you, Dr. Williams, and for you, Dougie Fresh. I want to bring Vanessa into the conversation now because Johnson & Johnson, I think we're one of the first companies to really support Hip Hop Public Health in a big way. Vanessa, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you today and with Doug and Dr. Williams. What you do is phenomenal, and I love the idea of putting content into a digestible form for everyone. So there have been several ways that we've partnered with Hip Hop Health, but importantly, we are in the process of developing a new online mental health toolkit, which essentially will be informed, standard-based educational resource, to address mental health, toxic stress, and make sure that it includes mindfulness. It's a health and healing resource, and it really seeks to build awareness, to empower, reduce stigma. We know that there's a lot of stigma associated with mental health, especially in the Black and Brown community. And it also partners with, introducing physical health care. And importantly, I love that Dr. Williams brought up the fact that, we want to make sure that this has an impact, right? We want to do those randomized controlled trials. So we're also partnering with Hip Hop Health to make sure that we continue to look at the music-based approach for behavioral change and see how it's able to modify people's behavior, which I think is just so critically important.
Such great work that all of you all are doing. And I did my own little research and digging. And one of the things that I truly love about Hip Hop Public Health is the animated content that you all have created to shine a light on various health topics through music and video, right? Some of the ones that I particularly love are Stroke Ain't No Joke, Keep Your Brain Healthy, about how your food affects your mood, which is so true, Be Fast, and Let's Talk About Salt. I was like, okay, that was the most creative thing. Salt did her thing in that. That was so dope. And it's just a great and necessary way, right, to connect with the youth. So I want to know whose idea it was to create some of those videos, and how have you seen them be an effective tool in our community to create the healthier lifestyles and better outcomes? And we can either Doug or Dr. Williams, feel free to start.
I'll jump in first and tell you that us doing the stroke song was a combination of me and Dr. Williams. We came together on that because obviously, he's a neurologist, and he sat down and gave me so much information, extensive information on the different symptoms, the different things that you can identify as stroke with. And when that was done, then we went in there, and then I started to say, it'd be nice to make it a dance. So kids could dance, and we'll take a serious situation and turn it into something fun, but the message and the words will carry the information that I got from Dr. Williams. So what we did, Shanti, is we tried to come up with something that the kids could sing and then they could utilize when they see this happening. For example, we said F is for the face, which you'll see a droopiness in the face. A is for the arm. Sometimes you'll feel the pain or a numbness in the arm. S is for the speech. The speech will start to slur. And T is for the time. And it's time to do what? Call 911. And that information came from Dr. Williams. So when we put it in the rap and when we said it to the kids in the school with AD and Artie Green and other people help put this, we have a team of people that help us. So when we did that and then we showed the video, the kids loved the song, they danced, they sung along with it. And as Dr. Williams knows, and I'll let him tell you, but he'll get into what happened when that happened and one of the kids seen it happen. You could tell him what happened, Doc.
No creative.
Yeah, so it's so we put a lot of energy into how we create our music and our videos. So we do focus groups. We work with an incredible animation and a process that really leverages the power of animation to really enhance messages. To really, animation gives us the flexibility to highlight and enhance and be creative with how we present information. And the music does its thing in terms of being sticky and being contagious. And so we took all these basic principles of learning and we incorporated them into our creativity process. And then we arrived after that rigorous process at the Stroke Ain't No Joke video, for example. We have more than 200, as you see, 200 resources in our repository, and everything we do is free. Everything we do is free. And when we create the video, the product, we now create wraparound lesson plans around the videos. Hip Hop Stroke, the Hip Hop Stroke program, for example, has three videos, and it has a video game, and then it has the wraparound kind of lesson plans that wrap around the animated.
He got a little frozen again.
After the wraparound, talk about, you said it has a video game and then
as a mini curriculum to school systems all over the country. And then what we did in the research is that we measured the effect at two levels. One, does it actually improve knowledge about stroke? Does it enhance the ability of anyone who's listening or watching or participating in the program? Does it enhance their ability to recognize a stroke? And does it also enhance their ability to have the self-confidence to call 911 and describe what's going on to an operator so that the individual can get to the hospital on time? The reason why it's critical to get people in quickly is because we have a saying in stroke called time is brain. So for every minute that a stroke is allowed to continue, 2 million brain cells die.
Yeah.
So think about that. That's why we got to get people to the hospital quickly, and we got to get them treated really quickly. And so we showed that the programs that we were rolling out in the schools not only led to the ability of children and their families to recognize stroke and act on it, and we measured it, but we also saw a number of children actually saving the lives of family members who were falling down in their homes and in their communities with strokes. So we showed that it translated into lives saved, and we published our results.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your work, because I'm getting a little emotional here. I lost my sister 4 years ago from a blood clot that led to a stroke, Doc.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for saving more lives. Losing a loved one is one of the hardest things in this world, especially when that loved one is your best friend. So
Yeah. And
we get real on this show, so little tears ain't hurt nobody.
yeah, and Shanti, I want to say this to you also too. It's what you're doing and the work that you're doing is in the celebration of your sister and your mother, because sometimes there's certain things that happen that prepare us for what we're supposed to do. You did all you were supposed to do in the music industry, and you have all of that under your belt, and that's why you have these relationships. But your experiences is what's taking you to this next level right now. So it's great that you're able to cry about it because, this is a part of the process, right? And it's good. And and I'm going to tell you this. What's funny? I just thought about this when Doc was talking. When I was a kid, my father used to smoke cigarettes. So I was like 2 years old. I have a really, really good memory. At 2 years old, I used to say, hey, Dad, you should kick the habit. You should kick the habit. And it was a commercial that came on TV. And I would sit there and watch it. And I never thought in my life that I would be the person now making the commercials and the songs to get other people to do what they did. Because as Dr. Williams said, 2 children saved their grandmother's lives because of the songs that we created. So it does work. And I'm a living example because my father stopped smoking and he's 82 years old now.
Oh, what a blessing. That's such a full circle moment. Vanessa, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that, I think if we all think back on some of our earliest memories, they're tied to music. And whether that's, remembering a song for when we were young or a song we used to sing to our parents, or even, I swear to you, I passed my 8th grade constitution test because of Schoolhouse Rock. So there's something special about music and the content delivery that just sticks in our youth. So I just think Hip Hop Health is such a unique platform for not just delivering the message, for people understanding and internalizing the message, but remembering it really for the rest of their life.
100%. I think it's fantastic what you all are doing. And I really see some synergies with what we're doing. I hope this is the first of many things that we're able to do to collaborate on with mibo, with my foundation, Silence of Shame, around mental health. Maybe we can get a mental health video going. It's just so much we can do. And I just applaud each and every one of you for doing the work. I did want to jump back to you, Vanessa, quickly. And as a leader of the Global Corporate Affairs Organization at Johnson & Johnson, where you have oversight, rather, of Ortho, Our Race to Health Equity. Can you share a little bit about what you're doing with the Ortho program?
Sure. So Ortho is our Race to Health Equity program, and we actually started it after the murder of George Floyd, where it became critically obvious that more was needed to be done in the Black and Brown community around health equity. And it was really launched with the bold ambition that, we should all be working to create a world where the color of your skin is not the determinant to your access of care, your quality of care, or your health outcomes. And so in alignment with what we are doing in the spirit of our credo and DE&I, and in a legacy of taking on really what are the world's toughest healthcare challenges, we wanted to make sure that we were working in conjunction with many partners to really rebuild the healthcare system from a diverse perspective by supporting solutions that essentially systemically address racial health equity. So we've committed $100 million over 5 years to promote health equity solutions. It's, a drop in the bucket, the tip of the iceberg, but I can say that I've been at J&J for a long time. I have never seen anything catch fire like this initiative, and it has grown tendrils through almost every aspect of what we do. Mm-hmm. And for me as an African-American female, working at a large healthcare company, it is just so inspiring to see the commitment across the spectrum of employees we have, including Dr. Williams R&D and our clinical trial programs. So we are so proud and happy to partner with Hip Hop Health and continue the journey to improve health equity in the United States for Black and Brown people.
Amazing. Hip Hop Public Health, doing the work. I love it. J&J, Hip Hop Public Health, that's good. Doug, my man.
Yes.
So you and I both know that hip hop culture can sometimes highlight unhealthy lifestyles, right? We talked about that earlier in our community. But lately, I think I've seen more artists kind of shining a light on eating healthy, exercising, talking about their mental health, and so much more, right? So, we see people talking about it and we want to stay motivated. So why do you think there's a shift now in the culture? And what is your advice to keep the culture moving and keep this momentum going? Because I see you posting about it and talking to artists all the time.
Well, you know, that's a really good question, because I'm going to tell you, I think there is this sudden surge of artists being more thoughtful, more conscious about their health. And the reason why I see this happening now is because there has been so many artists that have transitioned too soon. I mean, there's artists that have been in this game, and you know, Shanti, as well as I do, there's been a lot of artists that have been,
And DJs.
and DJs across the board, from singers to rappers to DJs, just everybody that's a part of what we do, we've seen them pass. And it's too soon. And I think that as we see these things, we're becoming more wiser. I think that when they see things that I post, things that you post, the conversation that Hip Hop Public Health has been having for so long, the conversations that I've had conversations with Rick Ross about his health, and I stopped, and we could talk about rap, talk about hip hop, but we got to talk about health, you know, and I think that artists are taking more responsibility in it, because they're starting to see what's going on around them, and it could be you. There's artists that's been having seizures and different things. So I think that it's a certain level of awareness now because of everything that's been going on. And going back to what Vanessa said about George Floyd and the whole mental illness aspect, I think that the interesting thing about this mental illness thing is that, you know, people could say what they want. George Floyd was doing this or doing that, and they try to say he might have not been stable or getting high or whatever. And let's say, I think that everybody out here has some kind of mental illness, in my personal opinion, meaning that we all got something that we could fix. You know what I'm saying? But the interesting thing is that I think that we did not realize how mentally ill are the people that's in power, the people that's in the position of power, and then the illness is demonstrated by the abuse of the power. So when they see all of these things that's happening, it becomes a different thing. And I think even with the artists, they're starting to realize that, you know, I have to do something to balance out this lifestyle. You know, when people are cheering for you, when people are asking you to sign something and take a picture, and sometimes that's gone and it's not happening no more. There's something that happens to the artist, or when he wanted so bad. I mean, you should answer this question too, because you've been dealing with this a long time. So you know, and like even in your book, you know what the deal is. It's like artists go through these changes and they need some kind of support. So us having these conversations, you having this podcast, it's opening up the doorway for them to know it's okay. You don't have to feel like you're alone, you know?
That's right. 100%. Thank you for that, Doug. And you're right. Like, the more we can have these conversations and normalize it, the more they can understand, you know, what they really need to focus on. They need to be present in the moment and not focus on, you know, the past. Like, I was just talking about this on my IG the other day. Like, the industry is great. It's so much about the music industry that I love, but then there's also a certain level of toxicity in it, right? And when you don't have the records coming out, and when you're not at one of those major labels working as an executive vice president, you're not getting the calls, you know, people are not returning messages, and it starts to play with your mental psyche. So all of that. And then you start forming those unhealthy habits, right? From a physical health perspective, and your diet and so forth. So yeah, you're right. It's a dialogue that needs to continue. That's why we are so grateful for the Mibo Show. I only have a couple questions left. I could talk all night to y'all about health and wellness, because it really is my passion now. And you know, I want to certainly do my part to really move the culture forward. So I want to go back to you, to our hip hop doc, Dr. Williams. And, you know, I read that with the support from the NSA, you researched the effectiveness of teaching children about neurological conditions through hip hop music. And then that's when you later connected with Doug to create these amazing programs that you're using to educate around public health. What is your hope, Dr. Williams, and desire for the future of health and hip hop? And what type of advancements maybe that we don't know about can we look forward to?
Well, my hope is that hip hop, as an entire genre, embraces health and healing as its next pillar. I think hip hop has, you're looking at the fifth element of hip hop
Yeah.
right now with Dougie. Dougie's the beatbox, right? Dougie's the beatbox. He's the fifth element of hip hop. You had the MCs, you had the graffiti artists, you had the break dancers.
Wait, hold on. We gotta stop for a second. That's deep. We got the fifth element of hip hop on the Mibo show, y'all. Do you understand the magnitude of what's going on right now? Thank you. I'm sorry. I just had it is hip hop 50. I just had a moment. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Fifth element. And what would be greater than for hip hop to embrace a sixth element as in health and healing?
Yeah.
Hip hop is global. Hip hop eclipsed rock and roll as the most
100%.
as the biggest genre on the globe in 2017. And so it's global. I was recently in England with a young woman who's using hip hop to fight female genital mutilation in Senegal.
Wow.
With a young Colombian rapper who is using hip hop to bring economic and political stability and progress in Colombia. And so hip hop is global. And so imagine if hip hop embraces health and healing fully. Imagine how that would impact the lifestyle of so many young people across the globe. Imagine how transformative that would be when health literacy is communicated through hip hop across the globe in thousands of different languages. That is my hope for hip hop, because I really think hip hop has a transformative role to play if it really embraces the direction that hip hop public health is trying to move it in. In terms of what's next, for us at Hip Hop Public Health, it's really about scaling our health MC program across this country.
Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
So our health MC program. So as you know, we develop these curriculums, these resources with wraparound lesson plans, and what we do is to get them to the people who need to hear them and learn them. We have to put them in the hands of people who are actually on the ground with them. People closest to the problems are the ones closest to the solution, right? And so, you have educators, you have teachers, you have people on the ground who are the ones educating our children, who are supporting our children in school systems and after school systems and libraries and museums, and people on the ground who are doing this work. And so our Health MC program is a program where we basically put our resources, tools, lesson plans, curriculums, content, which are all free, into the hands of educators. And educators, as I said, is really anyone in an instructional capacity, that's educating young children. And we've already piloted. We've already had very large demonstration programs for our Health MC program. Here in New York City, we have a standing Health MC program. We've demonstrated our Health MC program in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've also had health MCs in other cities, including Chicago, San Antonio, Texas. But what we want to do now is on a massive scale. We want to scale our Health MC program to 100,000 educators in the next 5 years.
Wow.
To reach 1 million kids and their families. And that is the next phase of our work at Hip Hop Public Health.
I am just blown away. I mean, thank God for you, Dr. Williams, because not only are you saving lives, you're really just you're just thinking about it in such a smart way. right? You're really, really coming up with ideas, like you said, that are scalable, that can move the needle in the community, and that can really help to heal us moving forward. It's such a blessing what you and Doug are doing.
Can I give a shout out? I just want to give a special shout out to the Hip Hop Public Health team because,
Yeah.
Doug and I, we're the ones, who are on your show, Shanti, but we have incredible team behind us. CEO, we have a wonderful CEO, Lori Rose Benson. We have, Janelle Snowden, who's been supporting our publicity efforts. We have Lindsay, who's been leading our school-based programs. Naya supporting Lindsay. We have, as you know, Jody. We have Melinda Gould. We have a pretty big team at Hip Hop Public Health, and they're all working so hard behind the scenes to make this dream a reality.
Well, thank you to the entire squad there. Quickly, I want to just run back to Vanessa because I know you have some other interesting and exciting things to tell us about some of the work that J&J is doing in marginalized communities to better manage other diseases such as cancer and heart disease and diabetes, which we know are also a factor and issue in our BIPOC communities. Can you talk a little bit about Talk That Talk and Save Legs, Change Lives?
Sure. So maybe I'll just start by, there are a couple things that we're trying to do to change the healthcare system, and then we can talk a little bit about the programmatic.
Okay.
So I think Dr. Williams touched on this, and one of the key issues is that, in many communities of color, bias and discrimination occur at both the interpersonal and institutional levels of healthcare, right? And bias can lead to people receiving poor care and inaccurate diagnosis, or experiencing delays in diagnosis. So we want to make sure that we are addressing healthcare from an ecosystem basis. So that means we sponsor things like scholarships for both medical school and undergrad, training, mentorships, making sure that we train physicians who are maybe not of color on color appropriate care, culturally appropriate care, which is really important. And then we do have some programmatics. I know that we were talking about stroke and blood clots. There's a disease called peripheral artery disease where you get, arterial disease in your legs, and this can lead to amputations. And we know that it affects 12 million Americans, and it's often unknown, it's often unseen. People don't know they have it, and it's very much undertreated. And this causes the blood vessels to narrow in your legs, reducing blood flow. And left untreated, it can lead to serious events like limb ischemia, which is blood clots in your legs, or amputation. And sadly, there are more than 400 amputations every day in the U.S., and is the leading cause. Now, really unfortunately and tragically, 70% of people who have a PAD-related leg amputation die within 3 years. So they have a worse outcome when you amputate their legs. Now, what's alarming when we looked at the research is that Black Americans are more than 4 times more likely than other Americans to have a PAD-related amputation. And there are disproportionate rates of PAD amputation that are a result of Black Americans being twice as likely to have PAD with less access to quality care. And that's why we started this program called Save Legs, Change Lives, that's focused on reaching Black Americans, because there are other things that you can do. As Dr. Williams, I'm sure knows, you can have an intervention versus an amputation. So we want to make sure that we are working on a multi-year initiative that's aimed at creating urgency and action to address this hidden threat to the Black population, which is really important. And we're doing that through empowering individuals and communities, really placed at increased risk. We're collaborating with partners and research partners, and we're really seeing the power here of Save Legs and Change Lives to break down barriers and really create a healthcare system that is not only more diverse, but is more equitable, and ensure that we are ensuring that same treatments are, offered to patients, not based on race, but based on the disease that they have. And maybe I can just mention one more, and that's in multiple myeloma. So, multiple myeloma is a a blood cancer. And essentially what happens is, there are over 35,000 people who are diagnosed with multiple myeloma in the United States. 20% of all cases are Blacks, right? There are only 13% of people in the U.S. who are Black, but 20% of the cases are Black. So the prevalence is there. And, multiple myeloma is often diagnosed in people over the age of 60. But Black people are typically diagnosed 5 to 10 years earlier, so they get the disease earlier. And while Black patients are less likely to have a more aggressive disease, they're twice as likely to die from multiple myeloma because it's often undetected until it's progressed, right? So we are partnering on a project called That's My Word. And essentially what we want to do is change the trajectory of multiple myeloma in the Black communities, because we know that the impact of health disparities is exacerbated for people who are living with this incurable blood cancer. So there are many ways that we're working, and I just mentioned a few. There are others to really get at the root of the, everything from the diagnosis of the patients to ensuring the treatment pathways are equitable, and really the education about the unconscious biases that exist sometimes in the healthcare system that go along with that.
Thank you. Such great work, transformative work. It really is about health equity, right? It's about educating the community. Wow, I'm just blown away. It's such an honor to be in this space. Health and hip hop. This is me, baby. This is it now. I am all in. I'm so excited. Hip hop, public health, J&J. This is just Dr. Hip Hop Doc. Like, y'all are just doing such good work. I want to ask you, Doug and Dr. Williams, as we get ready to close out, what is your call to action, right, in hip hop? I know you talked a little bit about it, Doc, but we'll start with you, Doug. What is your call to action? What should we be doing? What do we need to do in our community?
Well, I think that right now, what we need to do is keep educating our communities and give them more information, because they're running around with information that's not real. And they are trying to self-diagnose. They don't have enough information and enough skill. I think we have to create more confidence in them going to get a checkup and make them feel it's okay to get a checkup. We need to see more doctors like Dr. Williams right here, because when you go in there and you see someone like you that look like you, you know that they can probably understand your situation just as good as you do. I think those things are very important. And I just think that we can never stop really promoting how important it is to deal with your health. I think that we really underestimated how important this thing is. Everybody talk about financial literacy. Everybody talk about so many different things. Hey, that record sound hot. This is this, that's that. But it means nothing if you're not even in the condition to enjoy it, or you're not even able to continue the life that you would be able to have and do more than you ever thought that you could do just because you got a checkup. Last thing I'll say is that Kango Kid from UTFO told me, he said, Dougie, if I was to go and get a colonoscopy sooner, I wouldn't have been in this condition. And he passed away. And he told me to tell everybody, don't be afraid to go and get yourself checked out, because if he would have checked himself out sooner, then he would probably be here, because he was in great shape. He was young. He was doing shows. He was out there. So I just think that we have to take our platforms and we have to use them in the proper way. And that's why I wanted to come on your show, Shanti, because I know you're real about it. You know what I mean? This ain't about no hype. This is true. You've been through these experiences. And I think that the creator using you is a perfect combination of both, because you have enough information and history and understanding of the music industry and the impact of all of the whole entertainment industry. And at the same time, you have personal experiences and you have a gift on being able to know how to present them. So I think if we keep working together like this, we will make this situation better for our people and a lot of people as a whole.
Thank you. Oh, I love you, Doug.
But so, I know we keep it real. You know, we keep it real, Shadi. Since day
We
one.
do.
Day
I know, and I remember I was in LaGuardia Airport, and we were just still like starting to kind of talk and have a conversation. I'll never forget. You stopped. We talked for 30 minutes,
That's right.
and that was the beginning of us really kind of getting to know what each other was really doing and getting it. I always admired you. I'll never forget that day.
And that day, the way we met, that's why I'm trying to tell you how when I'm saying what I'm saying, it's not just words. I just think that a lot of these things are designed in the way that they're supposed to be. And if we just allow it to do what it does, it will take care of itself. I don't think it was a coincidence that I met Dr. Williams. I think it was just the timing. You know what I mean? And we always say that, it's your time, it's my time, and it's God's time. And God's time is always on time. Always.
No doubt. And the last question, when did y'all fall in love with hip-hop? Dr. Williams, when did you fall in love with hip-hop? It is the anniversary of hip-hop. I gotta know.
When you meet him and you hear his car, and you hear the sister in his car, you're going to ask him this thing. You're going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you this question.
Come on, Doc. When did you fall in love with hip-hop?
Look, I've been in love with hip hop since I've been in love with since I've been in love with myself. Since I've been in love with, me and hip hop, we go back a long way. And I know, and I say that seriously because there was a time when I didn't love myself. There was a time when I was going through very serious trauma, and hip hop was cathartic for me. Hip hop, hip hop was a gift that helped me heal. And so hip hop it has healing power, and that's another reason why I think that it's critical for us to utilize a form of music that has healed a whole community. I mean, hip hop was born in the Bronx, as a way for folks to express their pain and their trauma and their frustration and their anger, as a way for them to show the world what's going on in their backyards. Hip hop is a cathartic force, and I found hip hop when I was in need, and through hip hop I learned to love myself again. So hip hop is life, man.
I love that. Vanessa, we asked you in a different episode about that, but do you have a favorite hip hop moment that you remember as a young girl?
A favorite hip hop moment. What really struck me, so I remember listening to the Sugar Hill Gang. I must have been in like 6th grade. It was like before I could even define what it was, but you're like, hey, what's that? You know what I mean? But I gotta tell you, I love the female rappers. I mean, when MC Light and Queen Latifah,
Only Love.
I know. I think it totally struck me because it's different. Because I don't know, for a few years, I probably didn't hear that. And then I was like, okay, listen to the ladies. So,
because it felt like an extension of yourself, right? All the empowerment and,
it did. And yeah, because it for a minute, I'd say a minute, it felt like more of a male, art form.
Yes, no question.
That's real.
And then the women came in. I was like, oh, okay, no, listen to this. So, and even today, I love Snoop. I mean, I love Dougie. I've seen you probably at least 4 times.
Oh, okay.
And it's always a show. And I don't even want to comment because you know what? If I commented where you probably recognize down front, two women acting crazy. But
hey, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. And
you are truly talented.
Yes, he is. I can remember being in high school and the show. I was in a dance group, Doug.
Really?
We did talent shows in high school, and we used to dance to the show and lottie-dottie. And I'm a yeet girl, like I got it all in back in the day.
We're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to turn.
Yeah.
One more time. One more time.
Yeah. But no, I want to thank you all again so much for being on the Mibo Show, just talking about all the phenomenal work
Thank you very
that
much.
Hip Hop Public Health is doing. Thank you, Vanessa Broadhurst. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you, Doug. Can you take them out? Take us out, Doug, with a long.
Man, I mean, I could do it all. I could say,
It can be like 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
look, this is how we say it.
Hey!
That's hip hop.
Yes! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap. Peace.